Welcome to this episode of the Smart Leaders Sell podcast. My name is Jess. I'm a sales coach and leadership expert. And today I am fueled by some very, very nice coffee. I feel like I've gone back to my normal human self who functions after, at least 2 cups of the good stuff of a morning. I'm actually sat here delighting in my new coffee machine. And I've got to be honest, you will hear me slurping my way through this episode because somehow I managed to convince Sam that when I bought the coffee machine, the best place for it and the most appropriate place for it to go was right next to me on my desk in the office. So instead of having to walk, let's say 15 steps, let's be generous, from my office to my kitchen, I get to sit here drinking my coffee and I can literally just turn my chair and switch it on. So it's like the ultimate in lazy / efficient timings when it comes to coffee, and I am absolutely loving life. However, does bring me on to the topic of today's episode, because one of the things that I realized when we were going out, when we were shopping for this coffee machine, was that actually there are lots and lots of sales lessons that we can take away from how coffee machines or businesses that offer coffee machines can make money, or the way that they make their primary revenue. So let's dig into this, because as a coffee lover / hot drinks or beverage connoisseur, I remember being really, really weirded out when they brought out home coffee machines. And I remember thinking, well, surely this is going to mean that like Starbucks or Costa Coffee or whoever take a little bit of a hit, because inherently people like me, lazy people, don't necessarily want to have to walk the mile and a half or whatever it is to your local coffee shop of choice, buy your coffee and then walk home. Actually, mile and a half, what's that, like 15 minutes each way or something? So it's 30 minutes out of your day for one decent cup of coffee. And I remember thinking, well, if everyone can make their coffee at home, that's fabulous for obviously us, but it also will surely mean that local coffee businesses or even national coffee businesses will take a hit, because obviously people won't be visiting them as much. So I remember kind of looking at things and thinking, how is this going to work? Is this going to be useful? How is it going to affect the local coffee or the coffee shop on the high street? And it turns out it was one of those predictions where I was massively wrong. Starbucks has in no way been affected by the sale of, any kind of coffee machine at all. And in fact, one of the things that we're going to be talking about today is one of the major ways that coffee companies and organizations who are selling home coffee machines are making money are through these kind of big brand collaborations. So let's dig in. Obviously, last time we spoke, I was kind of mid-coffee machine hunt, in that my coffee machine had broken. I was very upset about it. I remember talking about it extensively. And so that weekend, Sam and I kind of went out and we looked around, and I thought I had chosen the coffee machine that I was going to buy. So I actually thought I was going to go with an espresso machine. I was very excited. I went around and looked at them. And when I started looking in person at the Nespresso machines, because I must point out here, when I shop on the internet, I don't necessarily read all of the descriptions fully when I'm on Amazon or any other shopping site, which means that if you ever want to sell me anything, know that I potentially will not read the entire description. I'll just read the kind of keynote. So anyway, we go into John Lewis. I'm looking at Nespresso machines and get very excited because they do them in red. Red is my favorite color. It's also the color of every appliance in our kitchen, which gives you some idea of what it's like to live in our house. You look at our kitchen, it's kind of like everything's bleeding. My interior design skills are not great. But, I was getting very excited. And then the guy comes over to us and he's like, okay, so you're looking at Nespresso machines. Do you need a hand? And I was like, well, yes. And he starts talking to us about them. And I say, okay, so my key criteria for buying one of these machines is A, that I can make lattes and or cappuccinos without having to, do anything weird with the milk. And the guy's like, oh, okay, well, you can make cappuccinos and you can make lattes in these, but you do have to use the milk frother. And I was like, oh, that doesn't really work for me. Okay, I don't really like doing things with milk. One of the big reasons that I own a coffee machine is because I'm too lazy and forgetful to go to our local shop every, let's say, 3 days and buy new milk. So having a milk frother doesn't work for me on a variety of levels. One, because I'd actually have to froth milk and I'd probably, get that wrong. And two, because I'd actually then have to remember to buy milk in the first place, which would put me in exactly the same position I was in last week of having to make my own coffee, realizing I had no milk and having to drink it black every single day. So I was like, that doesn't really work for me. And then obviously I kind of realized that inherently I'm slightly like a child about hot drinks. So, I wanted a coffee machine because I like good coffee, but also I like hot chocolate. And, also I like other things that, are interesting. And the guy was like, yeah, no, you can't make hot chocolate in this. Like, we don't have hot chocolate pods. I was like, oh, okay. And so I said, look, we're going to have a think. And we kind of walked away, and Sam was like, but you could have really good coffee. And I was like, yeah, but I just also want hot chocolate now. And he's like, but Jess, you drink hot chocolate probably like twice a quarter. And I'm like, yeah, I know, but not having the option makes me very sad. So, the guy had done exactly the right thing. He'd taken us through a sales process. I'd identified that I was not the right target market. I don't just want to drink nice coffee with my coffee machine. I also want to be able to use it for other things. And so we went away and we did some research, and, or I say we did some research. Sam did some research because, like I say, the online shopping thing, I just do the TLDR versions of most things. So he went away, he did some research, and he found that actually one of the best rated machines was the Tassimo, which incidentally I'd had before, so I knew how to use, hence why I'd been a convert for the hot chocolates and all the other stuff that came with it. So I bought a Tassimo. Long story short, I bought a Tassimo. It was on Amazon. It happened to be reduced, so it was £49 down from 128 or something, and I was over the moon. And I'm also an Amazon Prime customer, so I was like, yay, I can get my Tassimo machine tomorrow. I'll order myself some more pods, and I'm good to go. And me and Sam sat down, we're having a little chat, because obviously, when you're in a relationship with somebody, apparently you have to talk to them. And I would like to say that our conversations are super interesting, but the reality is that I bought my Tassimo machine, and then we kind of had a chat, and Sam's like, so how do they actually make any money? Because, if you're selling the machine, which costs quite a lot to produce, and you're only selling it for £49, and they're kind of regularly discounted, like where is that company making their cash? And I was like, oh, interesting question. I was like, I'm going to cover that on my podcast. And he was like, yeah, I'm not going to listen to your podcast, so maybe we could have the discussion first, and then obviously you can record it later. So we started having a chat about it, and there were a few things that we realized that I wanted to share with you guys, because actually, these coffee machines, and certainly some of the appliances that we take for granted, and I'll talk about a couple of others throughout this episode as well, we take them for granted. They're household appliances, they're things that we see every day. We don't even think about how they are monetizing their businesses and the smart ways that they're doing it. And there are 3 particular appliances in our house that I always think about when it comes to the 3 reasons that these companies are making money that we're going to be talking about today. So the first reason, or the first way that Tassimo or any coffee pod or coffee machine company is making money is obviously through the pods. So as we just discussed, the actual machines you can usually get pretty cheaply, and yet they're the most expensive bit to produce. However, they are not necessarily making all of their cash through those machines. That's why they can discount them. But they're making their money through repeat revenue, because you always have to go and buy something to put in the machine. And if you're like me and you drink 2 cups of coffee every single morning and probably a hot chocolate in the afternoon while I'm on my, yay, I've got a new coffee machine binge, so let's say for about a week, you're going to be finding that people are going to be buying these pods really, really regularly. And this is where the companies are really smart, because these pods are like £5 plus for a packet. So actually, they don't cost that much to produce, and the profit margin is pretty high, and you are buying them regularly, because it's one of those things, you can't live without your morning coffee. So you're going to go out, you're going to spend your money there. The other interesting thing is that the pods are not compatible with other machine types. Okay. Now this is interesting, because obviously, you want to make sure that people can't go and buy cheaper versions of the pods. It throws up some really annoying questions for me when it comes to things like recycling, because after I bought my coffee machine, lots of people told me about the plastic landfill, and I was like, crap, I should have thought about that. But don't worry, you can get biodegradable ones, so all good. But yeah, so that's the first thing. The pods aren't compatible, so you're always going to have to buy the right pods for your machine. You can't buy any trickster pods run by or made by cheaper companies. And it also means that the likelihood is when your machine inevitably breaks or just dies of old age, which it will I had mine for about 3 years, so just throwing it out there, that could be the marker. You're going to end up with pods that you didn't use. And so rather than go away and think, oh, I'm going to buy from another brand, or I'm going to buy a different machine, you are more predisposed to thinking, well, I've got a bunch of insert company name pods here. I'll just go and pick one of those machines up on Amazon, or I'll just nip into your local, shopping centre and pick one up really quickly, because you already have that pod and it's not compatible with anything else. And when you've spent quite a lot of money on them, you are more disposed to thinking, well, actually, I'm going to go and buy the same brand. You also get really used to the brand that you already have. So think about it. When I went in and I'm doing the sales process with the Nespresso guy, I hadn't had an espresso before. And despite having had a Tassimo machine for 3 years and thinking, yeah, actually, I like it because it's nice coffee, as soon as he said, oh, we'd be taking a feature away, you couldn't have hot chocolate in it and you'd have to use this weird milk frother and all this kind of thing, I realized what a Tassimo convert I was, because I wasn't prepared to give up the fact that Tassimo, I could have hot chocolate. I wasn't prepared to give up the fact that actually I can buy little milk pods for Tassimo and I don't have to remember to go to the shop and buy new milk. There were lots and lots of things that I wasn't prepared to give up as a customer, because I couldn't get them in a different model. So you really need to start thinking about in your business, what are your coffee pod offers? What are your repeat revenue offers? And I don't mean repeat revenue in, have you got a membership site yet? Have you got a subscription box? I mean, how are you bringing your customers back to you? How are you showing them that you can help them in other areas? What are you doing for them? Or what are you serving them with after their initial problem is solved? And are you actually doing that regularly? Is there, some way that you can communicate with them? Is there something else that they can buy? Is there another, are you an affiliate for something that they can go ahead and purchase that you will still make recurring revenue on, even if it's not you delivering it? So you've got to start really thinking about what is my coffee pod service? The next thing that they do really, really well, these coffee machine companies, is they have big brand name collaborations. Now, this is kind of a favorite thing for me. And obviously, as you've heard, I'm obsessed with the fact that I can get nice coffee, I can get hot chocolate, and there are lots of other beverages that I can also get having a Tassimo. And the reason is that they've partnered up with a lot of big name companies like Kenko, like Cadbury's, like Costa Coffee, and they've made at-home versions and they've put them into coffee pods, which means that if I want a Costa coffee, I can make one that tastes incredibly similar from the ease of my own home, and specifically the desk right next to me. Now, what that means for Tassimo is that actually, if you are somebody who is already a die-hard Costa Coffee fan or a die-hard Cadbury's fan, actually you're much more likely to buy from Tassimo because they offer those options as pods. So if you know that your local Costa Coffee is a 5-mile drive, but actually you could sit at home and have something that tastes remarkably similar just by paying your £5 for your pods, it's very, very likely that you're going to do that rather than paying £5 for one cup of coffee plus the inconvenient drive. So, a great way to leverage audiences is to collaborate with somebody who also has a big brand or who also has a strong presence in the market. And it's another thing that you want to be thinking about with your business. how are you collaborating with big brands or big names in your industry? Now, by this, I don't mean go and set up a telesummit and ask a bunch of people to come on it, or I don't mean, pitch them to speak at every event that they're ever going to hold or anything like that. It can be as simple as taking the time to build relationships with people and brands that actually are well known in your industry. So for example, if you are a tweeter, and I'm very new to Twitter, FYI, I'm, just getting into it. Over the last couple of weeks, I've grown my following from 320 followers to 396, which I'm very excited about, actually. Very, very excited about. But, I'm over on Twitter. I'm doing some stuff over there at the moment and tweeting people. And actually it's great because I can build relationships really, really quickly with some awesome people just by sharing their content really quickly and writing a note about what I genuinely think about it. So things that I've been doing over there, I've been, tagging, people who I follow who I like their content. I'm like, oh yeah, that person's great. I'll share their latest podcast episode. Or, I will write a little post about how much I like their latest blog post, or, I'll share an image of the planner that I've just bought or something like that. So, that can be a really good way to align yourself with big brands, with big names in your industry, but not in a way that is kind of asking them to give you something first. Okay, so quite often what we think or what we assume when it comes to big brand collaborations is we assume that they're joint ventures with people. You have to run a program with them. You have to be speaking on the same stage as them. The reality is that in order to collaborate with a big brand or to have them retweet you or to, have them kind of refer you for good opportunities, is you have to build a relationship with them. And relationship building comes from delivering value on your part first. So if that's sharing their content because you think it's genuinely really interesting, if it's about promoting them because you think they've got something, an offer or a service that really meets the needs that your audience currently have. If it's even just reaching out to them, being like, hey, look, I just wanted to let you know how much you inspired me. And I, an avid follower in your community, and I read all of your content or I consume all of your podcasts. And I just thought I'd let you know, you're going to start building these relationships, and those people, whether you see it or not, will start referring you out. You will be the person that they think of when they are being asked about opportunities or when somebody's asking them about your subject matter expertise. Okay, so collaborating with big brands doesn't just have to look like, are you selling something that a big name has kind of produced, are you an affiliate for Todd Herman or something like that for 90 Day Year? It can also be that relationship building phase. It can be taking part in a summit or a giveaway with somebody that you really resonate with. It can be speaking on the same stage as them. It can be buying their book or their planner or attending their event and trying to build a relationship with them that way. There are lots and lots of ways that you can do it, but having that ability to build a relationship with a big brand or collaboration, it puts you at a different level in the market. So for example, one of the things that I always see and that I always notice is that when people appear on the Oprah Winfrey show, suddenly they get a ton more followers on social media. Okay, and it's no surprise, right? Because their name has been linked to Oprah. Oprah is talking to them. Oprah is like the goddess of TV, and here she is talking to that person. So naturally, that person's following increases just by being on the same stage as Oprah for about 4 or 5 minutes. Okay, so really think about that. How in your business are you collaborating or building relationships with big brands? What are you doing to increase your influence in the market? And what are you doing to actually position yourself with big brands and with influencers in your industry so that you can leverage audiences in a genuine way, not a sleazy way? Okay, and that's the really important part here, is that if you are going to go out and build relationships with influencers, with big brands, please do it in the right way. Don't just kind of, tweet them and be like, hey, if I tweet you, can you retweet me out to your 1,000,001 followers? Because that's a bit gross. But if you, reach out to them and say, hey, look, I loved your latest article. I'm sharing it with my community because I think it's going to be so useful for them. Thanks for writing it. They're way more likely to retweet that because it makes them look good too, right? So When it comes to sales, the summary and the big lesson that I've taken away from the coffee pod industry or the coffee machine industry is, how can we be generating repeat revenue from our customers? How can we be increasing that lifetime customer value? And what are you doing in your sales process to ensure that people come back? Okay, now that's based on what you're selling, but it's also based on customer results. How are you giving them the best results so that they always want to come back to you? Then, what are you doing that means that people are going to be more predisposed to buy from you? Like the non-compatible coffee pods. If we end up with non-compatible coffee pods in our cupboards at home, we're less likely to go out and buy the nearest competitor's machine because we already have a ton of money and time invested in this particular brand. What are you doing to get people invested in your brand? What are you doing that is non-compatible with your competitors? How are you standing out to your audience and saying, okay, yeah, you could go and buy from my competitor, or this is the next phase of how I can help you, and this is what makes me different, okay? And this is why you should stick with this particular strategy or with me as a coach, consultant, trainer, rather than going ahead and going over to that nearest competitor. You know, effectively, what are you doing to ensure that your customers can be loyal to you time and time again? And then finally, what are you doing to increase your influence in the market? How are you building relationships with big brands? How are you encouraging collaborations? How are you positioning your brand and elevating your brand in the market through the relationships that you've built? I really hope you've enjoyed today's episode. It has been amazing. And like I say, it has been completely fueled by my new coffee machine, which I'm very, very happy with. Obviously, if you have enjoyed the episode, please make sure that you leave a review. I absolutely love seeing new reviews on the page. And if you haven't yet, make sure that you do grab a copy of the Smart Leader Sell book. Like I say, the price is going up on Amazon. So if you haven't grabbed it yet, please make sure that you do grab your copy. A link will be in the show notes for you. And I will see you on Friday with a really amazing guest expert episode. I'm going to talk about this in a future episode, but you may notice that some of the Friday episodes are changing, and it is very, very exciting over here at Smart Leader Sell HQ. So if you do have any ideas for the podcast, if you have any ideas for episodes that you'd like to see, if you have any ideas for people that you'd think, I'd really like to hear about their sales process on the podcast, make sure you reach out to me, jessica@jessicalorima.com, and let me know, and I will see what wizardry I can work for you. Have an amazing day.